Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. What about the other political outcomes next week? Kim, I agree with Monet that if Kamala Harris wins the White House and Democrats hold the Senate, there will be great pressure on Justice Sonia Sotomayor to retire, either before the midterms if Democrats control the Senate, or maybe after if Democrats think that they can take the Senate in 2026. But what about if Trump wins the White House and we have a Republican Senate? I can only imagine that Justices Thomas and Alito might think hard, seriously about stepping down if they think that there's an opportunity to cement their legacies by getting a successor who views the law in a similar sort of way, is a textualist, is an originalist, someone who believes in reading the Constitution as the founders intended. And then what about the split the other way? If Democrats hold the Senate under President Trump, I have a hard time imagining anybody getting through in that scenario. And given the way that the Senate map looks, that might be a 4 years of no vacancies able to be filled. And then what about a Republican Senate under President Kamala Harris? I mean, maybe it would depend on the opening and the nominee. I'm not sure if a Republican Senate would or wouldn't confirm a successor maybe to Sonia Sotomayor.
One of those scenarios, I agree with you entirely. If Donald Trump is president and Democrats hold the Senate, the Supreme Court is frozen in time, barring, and we pray this doesn't happen, barring an unexpected death. Even then, I'm not sure anyone would get confirmed, whether or not there wouldn't just be a vacancy until there was some sort of change in dynamic there, just because I'm not quite sure whichever party does get the majority of the Senate, it's not likely to be by a definitive amount. And so these are going to be really close votes. If Trump is in the White House and Republicans are there, I do agree that there's going to be some pressure on Thomas and Alito, although I have to say 70s for justices, that's not always viewed by the justices as all that old. They like to hang in there. And Alito and Thomas, by the way, both feel like only recently they've kind of really come into their own on the court now that there is more of a conservative majority, and they've gained in senior status as well, too. So they're having more opportunities to influence the court. So I don't know if that would be something that would happen so easily. If Kamala is there, look, it would kind of depend. If you had a Sotomayor who retired, would Republicans potentially be willing to put in a replacement if they thought that it was a reasonable person? They might do that. I think Republicans have always been and remain a little bit more reasonable when it comes to a president's authority to name their own person to the court and for the Senate to give them a real hearing. But then again, both sides have kind of dug in on this a little bit. And this is the final consequence of this Democratic campaign against the court and this very relentless assault, which is that it has hardened Republicans' views on this as well, too. They understand how serious Democrats are about upending that institution, and they might be less likely than in times past as a result to just step back.
Thank you, Kim and Monet. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Potomac Watch.